The iron in your blood, it wasn't just found there. It was forged in the heart of a dying star, the calcium making up your bones. That's no accident. That came from a supernova explosion, a cosmic burst that happened 5 billion years ago. Every single atom in your body, everything except hydrogen, was created inside a star. A star that lived and died long, long before our solar system even existed. This isn't poetry, it's physics. It's not just a hunch. NASA has confirmed it. Spectroscopy, the hard science, has proven it. You are, quite literally, made of stars, and yet you feel alone. You feel separated from everyone around you. You feel like no one truly understands you. You feel like a stranger, isolated in your own world, disconnected from the people you love, disconnected from the universe itself. How is this possible? How can something made entirely of cosmic matter, something that's been connected to everything since the beginning of time, feel so profoundly isolated? Albert Einstein, knew the answer. And what he discovered will change everything you believe about loneliness, connection, and your place in the universe. But I need to warn you, what I'm about to reveal, it's not comfortable. It challenges the very foundation of how you experience reality. It explains why you feel the way you do, and why no one has ever told you the truth. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will never see yourself the same way again. Before we go further, you need to understand something about where you came from, not metaphorically. Physically, in the beginning, there was the Big Bang, or as some call it, the Great Expansion. In those first intense moments, 13.8 billion years ago, only 3 elements were created: hydrogen, helium, and a tiny bit of lithium. That's it. The entire elemental blueprint, everything else that makes up your body, your planet, your world, it didn't exist yet. So where did the carbon come from? The oxygen, the iron? Stars. When stars burn, they fuse hydrogen into helium. Larger stars continue the process, fusing helium into carbon, carbon into oxygen, oxygen into heavier and heavier elements, all the way up to iron. But even that isn't enough. To create elements heavier than iron, something more, violent is required: supernovae, cosmic bursts. When massive stars die, they explode with unimaginable force. In those cataclysmic moments, elements like gold, platinum, and iodine are forged, elements that are essential for life, elements that exist in your body right now. As Carl Sagan famously said in 1980, the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our pumpkin pies, were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. This is scientific fact. Modern telescopes like Hubble, James Webb, and the Chandra X-ray Observatory have traced these elements throughout the universe, linking them directly back to the stellar processes that created them. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are the cosmos, arranged temporarily in human form. So why does none of this make you feel less alone? This is where Einstein enters the picture. And this is where everything changes. In February 1950, a man named David Miller wrote to Albert Einstein. Miller was a rabbi in New York City. He had recently lost his 11-year-old son to polio. He was devastated, destroyed by grief, and for some reason, he didn't reach out to his fellow rabbis or his religious community. He reached out to a physicist. Why Einstein? Perhaps because Miller understood that his pain wasn't just spiritual, it was existential. It was about the nature of reality itself. And no one understood reality better than Einstein. What Einstein wrote back has never been properly understood by the public. It contains the key to everything I'm revealing to you today. Einstein wrote, "A human being is a part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Read that again. An optical delusion of consciousness. Einstein wasn't speaking metaphorically, and he was describing a fundamental error in human perception, a glitch in the way our brains process reality, a prison that we built for ourselves without even knowing it. You feel alone because your consciousness tricks you into believing you are separate, but you are not separate. You never were. The atoms in your body right now were inside stars billions of years ago. They were inside other living beings. They will be inside something else after you die. There is no separation. There never was. But here's what no one tells you. And this is the part that changes everything. Einstein understood that knowing this intellectually isn't enough. Reading these words isn't enough. Understanding the physics isn't enough. The delusion is too strong. Your brain is designed to create the illusion of a separate self. This is how you navigate the world. This is how you survive. But this same mechanism that keeps you alive also keeps you imprisoned. Let me explain what I mean. When you look at your hand, you see a boundary. Skin separates you from the air. You seem to end where the air begins. This is the first layer of the illusion. But at the atomic level, there is no clear boundary. Atoms are mostly empty space. The electrons in your skin are interacting with the electrons in the air around you. Energy is constantly flowing in and out. Heat, radiation, particles. You are not a solid object. You are a process, a pattern of energy that the universe is experiencing temporarily through the arrangement we call your body. Einstein understood this, and he also understood something even more profound. He once wrote, "I am truly a lone traveler and have never belonged to my country, my home, my friends, or even my immediate family with my whole heart. In the face of all these ties, I have never lost a sense of distance and a need for solitude." Wait, Einstein felt lonely too. Yes. One of the greatest minds in human history, a man who understood that separation is an illusion, still felt the ache of isolation, still felt like a stranger in the world. This tells us something crucial. The illusion is incredibly powerful. Even understanding it does not automatically dissolve it. But Einstein also wrote, "I live in that solitude which is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity." Something changed for him. Somewhere along the way, he found peace with his aloneness. Not by pretending the feeling didn't exist, but by understanding its true nature. And here is the key insight that no one has ever explained to you properly. Loneliness, it's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's not a personal failing. Loneliness, it's a symptom of the optical delusion of consciousness. It's your brain creating the experience of separation in a universe where separation does not actually exist. When you feel alone, you are not broken. You are human. You're experiencing the glitch in consciousness that every human being experiences. But once you understand this, something shifts. You stop fighting the feeling. You stop wondering what is wrong with you. You stop trying to fill the void with external connections that never quite satisfy. Instead, you start to recognize the feeling and for what it is, a signal, a reminder, a call to widen your circle of compassion. As Einstein said, "Let me pause here, because I need to show you something extraordinary, something that connects Einstein's insight to the latest discoveries in neuroscience." Researchers have found that loneliness activates the same brain regions as physical pain. When you feel socially rejected, your brain responds as if you have been physically hurt. This is not weakness. This is evolution. For most of human history, being separated from the group meant death. Isolation meant predators would find you. It meant starvation. It meant the end. So our brains developed a warning system. Loneliness is that warning system. But here is the problem. We are no longer in the savannah. We are no longer dependent on tribal groups for survival, yet the warning system remains, and it fires constantly in modern life. Even when we are surrounded by people, even when we have connections, even when we are physically safe. Einstein saw this. He understood that the pain of isolation was an evolutionary artifact, a leftover from a time when separation meant danger. And he also understood that the only way to transcend it was not to find more people to connect with, but to dissolve the illusion of separation itself. This is why knowing you are made of stars matters, not as a comforting thought, but as a doorway to a different way of experiencing reality. When you truly internalize that every atom in your body was once inside a star, something begins to shift. The boundary of yourself starts to dissolve. You begin to experience yourself, not as a separate thing in the universe, but as the universe experiencing itself. Carl Sagan understood this too. He said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." Think about that. The universe spent 13.8 billion years creating stars, exploding them, scattering elements across space, forming planets, generating life, all so that right now, right here, through your eyes, the cosmos could look back at itself and wonder why it feels alone. The irony is staggering. You are the universe. The universe is not separate from you. When you look at the night sky and feel small, you are actually looking at yourself. Those distant stars are your relatives. The atoms they created are in your body right now. But here is the deepest secret that Einstein pointed to, the thing that very few people ever grasp. The feeling of separation is not a mistake. It has a purpose. Let me explain. If you did not feel separate, you could not have experiences, you could not learn, you could not grow. The illusion of being a distinct self is necessary for the journey of consciousness. Think of it like this. In a dream, you experience yourself as separate from the other characters, but when you wake up, you realize they were all aspects of your own mind. The separation was real. Within the dream, it was necessary for the dream to happen, but it was also, ultimately, an illusion. Einstein hinted at this. In the same letter where he described the optical delusion of consciousness, he spoke of widening the circle of compassion. He was not saying to stop feeling like a self. He was saying to expand your sense of self until it includes everything. This is what I believe Einstein ultimately understood, and this is what I need you to understand today. You are made of stars. This is literally true. And you feel alone. This is also true. Both things are real. But the loneliness is not a sign that you are separate. It is a sign that you have forgotten your connection. And the path forward is not to find more external connections, but to remember what you already are. Now I need to share something that will tie all of this together, something that brings Einstein, Carl Sagan, modern physics, and your personal experience into perfect alignment. In 2022, researchers at the University of Arizona made a discovery that would have fascinated Einstein. They found that when people experience genuine moments of connection, whether with another person, with nature, or even with a piece of art, the brain's default mode network quiets down. This is the part of the brain responsible for the sense of self, for the feeling of being a separate individual. In other words, connection literally dissolves the neurological basis of separation, even temporarily. This is exactly what Einstein was pointing to. The optical delusion of consciousness is not just a philosophical concept, it has a physical correlate in the brain, and it can be disrupted. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most connected. Maybe it was watching a sunset and feeling like you were part of something larger. Maybe it was holding someone you love and feeling like the boundary between you had dissolved. Maybe it was listening to a piece of music that moved you so deeply you forgot where you were. In those moments, the illusion weakened, the sense of separation faded, and what remained was the truth that Einstein was trying to describe. You are not a separate thing in the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself through the temporary form you call your body. But here is what happens next, and this is the part that most people miss. The moment fades, the feeling of connection dissolves, and the optical delusion returns. The sense of being alone, of being separate, comes rushing back, and you feel the loss. You wonder why you cannot hold on to that feeling of unity. This is the tragedy of human existence. We get glimpses of the truth. We feel our connection to everything, and then we forget again. But what if there was a way to remember more consistently? What if there was a practice, a way of living that could keep the delusion from returning so quickly? Einstein found it, and he described it in that same letter to David Miller. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. The key word is compassion. Einstein understood something that most physicists miss. The dissolution of the illusion of separation is not an intellectual exercise. It's not about understanding quantum mechanics or memorizing scientific facts. It's about changing how you relate to others. When you feel compassion for another being, something extraordinary happens in your brain. The boundary between self and other becomes permeable. You begin to experience their suffering as your own, their joy as your own. You expand. This is why Einstein didn't just describe the problem. He offered a solution. Widen your circle of compassion. Start with the people closest to you, then extend it further to strangers, to animals, to the natural world, to the cosmos itself. As you do this, something begins to change. The prison walls Einstein described start to dissolve, not all at once, but gradually, consistently, irreversibly. Let me tell you what happens when you start to live this way, because I believe Einstein experienced this, even though he rarely spoke about it directly. When you widen your circle of compassion, loneliness transforms. It doesn't disappear. The biological warning system still fires. You still feel the ache of isolation at times, but the ache takes on a different quality. Instead of feeling like proof that you are separate, it starts to feel like a reminder that you have temporarily forgotten your connection. Instead of being painful, it becomes informative, a signal, a call to return to the truth. This is what Einstein meant when he wrote that solitude is painful in youth, but delicious in the years of maturity. He wasn't saying that loneliness stops hurting. He was saying that your relationship to it changes. When you truly understand that you are the universe, experiencing itself, moments of solitude become opportunities, not punishments, not signs of failure, but spaces where you can remember what you really are. And here is the paradox that Einstein lived with, and that you are now invited to embrace. You can know you are connected to everything, and still feel alone. Both are true simultaneously. The knowledge does not erase the feeling, but the knowledge changes how you hold the feeling. Think of it like watching a scary movie. You know the danger isn't real, but your body still responds. Your heart races, your palms sweat. The intellectual knowledge does not prevent the physical response, but it changes your relationship to the experience. You can watch the fear without being consumed by it. This is how Einstein experienced loneliness in his later years. He watched the feeling arise. Without believing it meant something was wrong. He experienced the isolation without letting it convince him he was truly separate. And this is what I am inviting you to do. Not to stop feeling lonely. That's not possible. The neurological machinery is too ancient, too deeply wired. But to change your relationship to the feeling, to recognize it as the optical delusion Einstein described, to see it as the evolutionary artifact it truly is, to hold it with compassion instead of resistance, and above all, to remember. Remember that the iron in your blood came from a dying star. Remember that the calcium in your bones was forged in a cosmic burst. Remember that you are the cosmos, temporarily arranged in human form, experiencing itself. When you remember this, loneliness becomes something else entirely, not a curse, not a problem to solve, but a teacher, a guide pointing you back to the truth of your connection. Before I finish, I want to share one more thing that Einstein understood, something about the nature of time that relates directly to what we've been discussing. Einstein proved that time is relative, that past, present, and future are not separate, that everything exists in what physicists call a block universe, where all moments are equally real. When his closest friend, David Miller, died in March 1955, Einstein wrote to David's family, and what he said reveals the depth of his understanding. He wrote that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Think about what this means for connection. Every moment of connection you have ever experienced is still real. Every person you have loved is still there in the fabric of space-time. The separation you feel is not just an optical delusion of consciousness, it's also a temporal illusion. Everything is connected, not just in space, in time as well. The star that created the iron in your blood is still there, not gone, still real in the block universe. Your ancestors are there, your future descendants are there. Every being that has ever existed and will ever exist is part of the same eternal tapestry. You are not alone. You never were. You cannot be. The feeling of loneliness is real. The experience of isolation is valid, but the conclusion you draw from it, that you are truly separate, is false. It is, as Einstein said, an optical delusion. Now, I've given you a lot to think about, and I want to be honest with you. I've spent years researching Einstein, his letters, his thoughts on consciousness and connection, and I create these videos because I believe these ideas need to reach more people. When you click the super thanks button, you're telling me that this work matters, that revealing what Einstein truly understood, what mainstream science often ignores, is worth supporting. It's not just a payment, it's a statement. You're saying that truth matters more than comfort. I'm deeply grateful for everyone who supports this work. Now, let me bring this all together with one final thought. Einstein spent his life searching for a unified field theory, a single equation that would explain all the forces of the universe. He never found it. The physics eluded him until the end, but I believe he found something more important, a unified theory of human experience, an understanding of why we feel separate when we're not, and a path forward. The path is compassion. The practice is widening your circle, The truth is that you are the universe, made of stars, temporarily arranged in human form. Loneliness is the alarm bell, connection is the medicine, and the medicine is always available, because you are already connected. You just have to remember, so the next time you feel alone, try this. Go outside, look up at the stars, and remember that you are looking at your relatives. The atoms in those distant suns are the same atoms that will one day be in your descendants. The light traveling toward you right now left its source millions of years ago, carrying information from your cosmic family. You are not a stranger in the universe. You are the universe. And the feeling of being alone, it's just the optical delusion doing its thing. Acknowledge it. Thank it for trying to protect you. And then remember the truth. You are made of stars. You are connected to everything. And the loneliness you feel is simply the pain of forgetting what you already are. Einstein knew this, Carl Sagan knew this, and now you know it too. The question isn't whether you're connected. You are. The atoms prove it. The physics proves it. The question is whether you will live as if you remember. I believe you will. That's why you're still watching. You're not like most people. You feel the truth even when you cannot articulate it. You sense the connection even when the optical delusion is strong. You are what Einstein called a seeker, someone who cannot accept the surface explanation, someone who keeps asking why, someone who looks at the stars and feels homesick. That homesickness is not a flaw, it's a remembrance. Your soul remembering where it came from, your atoms longing for reunion with the cosmic bursts that made them. So embrace the paradox. You are made of stars, and you feel alone. Both are true, and understanding both is the beginning of wisdom. Einstein understood this. Now you do too. So here is my question for you, and I genuinely want to know what you think. After everything I have shared today, do you believe that connection is our true nature and separation is the illusion? Or do you think loneliness is just reality and we have to accept it? Comment below. Tell me your experience. Have you ever had a moment where the illusion dissolved and you felt truly connected to everything? What was that like? I read every comment in the first 2 hours after posting. This is a conversation, not a lecture. Your insights matter as much as Einstein's because you are made of the same stars. You are part of the same universe. And your perspective is unique in all of cosmic history. Comment now. Let me know. And remember, the next time you feel alone, look up. The stars are waiting. They have always been waiting because they are you, and you are them, and the separation was never real. One last thing before you go. Einstein spent his final days at Princeton Hospital in April 1955. He refused surgery that might have prolonged his life. When asked why, he said he had done his share, and it was time to go elegantly. In those final hours, he was not afraid. He was not lonely. He had made peace with the optical delusion. He understood that death was not an ending, but a transformation. The atoms that had been Einstein would return to the cosmos and become something else. This is the ultimate proof that his philosophy worked. A man who truly understood that he was part of the universe could face dissolution with equanimity. You have the same potential, the same atoms, the same cosmic heritage. The question isn't whether you will return to the stars. You will. That is physics. The question is whether you will remember your connection while you are here. Whether you will widen your circle of compassion, whether you will see through the optical delusion. Einstein believed you could. I believe you can. And now, it is up to you.